Okay, so today I'm going to review the wall tool. As I was saying last class, the wall tool is this little house icon in our tool sets. So if we click on the little house icon, we can see that there's a whole slew of new tools. Right at the top is the wall tool, the shortcut key being number 9. So I can hit 9, it'll select the tool. Once I do, I can see that I have all these mode menus up at the top. So this first mode menu group is our line of reference. So I can use my left control line mode, my center control line mode, my right control line mode, and custom. We won't really need to get into custom at this time. So if I just leave it as is, I can go around, I can see that there's this little dash line on the top of my wall, because if I've set my starting point, and if I say, for instance, place myself at the starting point and face in the direction that I'm drawing, then the left control line mode I can see is that reference line that I'm using to draw my walls. So I can then tab in and click set a specific value. So if I do 20 feet, I can hit enter. That locks the length of the wall. It doesn't set that vertex. So I can either hit enter and it does that, or in this, I'm going to delete and go back. I can tab in and hit 20 feet, lock that length and click, and that also sets that vertex. So as you can see, I'm going around in a clockwise direction. That does matter and make a difference. So when we're using our wall tool and we're drawing in this polygon mode, we do want to make sure we are drawing in a clockwise direction. So if, say, I'm drawing from the bottom, I don't want to go in this direction because this is actually counterclockwise. And I can see that as I do so, my left line is on the inside. It's not on the outside now. So then that thickness of the wall is then added to the measurement instead of it being the reference point for where those measurements are taken. I'm just going to escape out of that. So that's the left control line mode. I can also do it so that this measurement that I took, or I tabbed in, was 20 feet. So I can either use the line tool and just measure this, and this should be 20 feet. Or I can use my right now, just use the line tool, and that's fine. I'm gonna take this out of. So if I went, right now, I'll try drawing the wall, and I'll use if I go counterclockwise, I'm going to tab in and go 20 feet, enter, enter, doesn't matter the height right now. So now if I use my line tool, I can see that this is 21 feet. So I tabbed in 20 feet and I specified that value, but now that outer dimension is actually 21 feet because the left control line is on the inside because I went counterclockwise, and that thickness of the wall is then added to that reference point. Okay, does everybody understand how the difference and why we need to make sure we're drawing in a clockwise direction? It just makes, I mean, we could do the math and go, oh, I know it's going to add 6 inches on either side, and then I'm going to have to tab in and actually make this 19 feet. Or we could just go clockwise and draw it and tab in and specify those values. Now, if I'm doing the rectangle mode, it's different because it's creating that box. Okay, so even if I go, I'll zoom in, see I'm dragging to the right, and I can see that sometimes when I hit it, there's that red dash line again, so that's left, my left control line mode. And if I go in this direction, again, it's always like to see what happens. And go minus 20 feet. I'll use my line tool. So we're fine when we do rectangle mode. We can always check things, right? So use your line tool, check your measurements, especially because we have, for this project, we have lots of nooks and crannies. So after you've done your walls, you need to make sure they're in the right locations. Okay, so I've created these walls. Right now, remember there's different wall types. So we have, this is gonna be, our dash line is gonna be demolition. Our solid wall with a white fill is gonna be our existing. And our new construction is going to be solid black. So you can see that up in my wall style, it says unstyled. So that means there's no set styles or attributes to these walls. So I can draw these walls. As I do so, or after I do so, I can see up in my object or my attributes palette what these attributes are. So for instance, these walls I can change from a solid fill of white to a solid fill of black. I had them all selected, it did that. I could even change these ones. I can select all these walls. I can click option, drag them over, and and then in this case, I'm gonna make them dashed. So I can make all those changes up in my attributes palette right here. Now, I'm selecting these walls and making those changes. If I was to have nothing selected and up in my object info palette it says no selection, then when I draw these walls, if I wanted to do the solid black, I can set this to solid black, back to my wall tool, and now those walls are going to be drawn with those attributes that I set at the beginning. So now every wall I draw though is going to have those attributes, so I can deselect everything, change it back if I need to, and now draw walls, and they're back to the solid white fill. Now the thing is, when we change our walls, that means that we have to change them every time, either before or after we create them. We can also create these as wall styles. So this little wrench and pencil is this wall tool preferences. I can select that preferences, and this brings me to the wall preferences dialog box. So I can see that my wall style is unstyled. I can click here and I can see this brings up a little resource manager, and there's multiple different wall styles already established in this library. There's not always going to be one that you want to use exactly. So sometimes we're going to pick the one that most closely represents the wall style we want to use, and then we're going to adapt it. So I can see that there's a generic interior bearing 6-inch. So remember, if we're doing an exterior wall, we can do it as a 6-inch wall. Right now I won't select that. Right now I'll just use this unstyled wall. I want the overall thickness to be 6 inches, but I want to edit the wall attributes. So as I click on that edit wall attributes, it brings up a wall attributes dialog box, and here I can see I have all those things that were in the attributes palette available to me here. So I can change my color of my fill to black, and I can hit OK. This is still an unstyled wall. So if I go and I draw this wall, it's going to keep that wall style. But if I changed something about it, it's not saved. I made these changes, and if I change them again, I don't have this style that I could go back to. So right now I can save this preference as a wall style. So I can even go 6-inch new construction, and hit OK. So I can hit OK, and now I can draw these walls there, and I can see that up in my wall style, I'm 6-inch new construction. So I can go back into my wall style. We had new construction, we have demolition, so I can edit my wall attributes. I can change my fill to white, my pen style to line type, because I want dashed, and I can hit OK. Now we can see that this took me back to my unstyled or my dashed line wall. I can see now up in my wall style drop down menu, it says unstyled. So if I go and I do this and I don't save it, then I lose all those changes that I made. So I can go save preferences as wall style. Instead of being 6-inch new construction, this is 6-inch demo, and hit OK. And hit OK. I can see up in my wall style drop down menu, it's 6-inch demo. Now when I draw that, it automatically does those walls with a dashed line. So we want new construction, we want demo, and we want existing. So if I go back into my wall style, wall preferences, I can edit my wall attributes. I can change this line type to solid. I have a solid white fill and a solid black line, and I can hit OK. Again, this goes to unstyled. So I want to make sure I save my preferences as a wall style. And this is 6-inch existing, and hit OK. Now all those walls that I draw from there have the solid white fill and the solid black line. I can click on this drop down menu and change between the two. I can go to my open files and this one, and I can see that I have all these 3 walls to choose from. So I can just click on my drop down menu, select one of these walls and draw, instead of going in and making all those changes every time. Now I can see, because this is a styled wall, now these attributes palette are grayed off and I can't make any changes in the attributes palette. But I can go over to my object info palette. I can see here's this style. I have 4 walls. So it understands that these are walls. They're going to have these options to change and select. I can click on this drop down menu. I can replace these with a different wall style. I can edit the current style, or I can convert this to an unstyled wall. If I convert to an unstyled wall, I can see that previously that the attributes palette that was grayed out is now selectable, and I can make whatever changes that I want to make. I can also say, for instance, if I want to make these walls, I can select one wall. If I want to make any changes, I can also go click on my style drop down menu and I can edit style. Edit style brings me back into this wall preferences dialog box. Now the name is this 6-inch demo. I can edit wall attributes. Let's just make them a fun color right now so we can see that they're different. I can hit OK. Now, if I hit OK, it brings up this wall replacement. Because I created walls that had those previous attributes and now I want this crazy pink color, it's going, okay, you're changing the style of this wall, and so anything moving forward is going to have these attributes, but what about the walls that you've already created? So it's saying, do you want to replace the selected walls, and how do you want to replace them? Sometimes when we edit walls, we're going to change the thickness of those walls. So it's going to depend, those reference points are going to matter. But because this is 6 inches, the center line is going to line up with the center line. So I can hit OK. And now if I zoom out, all those previous walls, oh, I didn't have any other styled walls of that style. Actually, I did, because I only changed, I edited the style of this one wall, and you can see that it changed the fill color on these other ones that weren't selected. I can also go, I converted these walls to unstyled. I can see that when I did so, I not only was able to change the attributes in the attributes palette, I can now also change the thickness of these walls. So we have some varying thicknesses of walls. So sometimes we're going to need to kind of calculate and show those in plan view, the thickness. So you can change those in the object info palette. I can see that this is a styled wall, and it's that style that I created. I can't change that thickness of that wall because it's a styled wall. So I can either convert it to an unstyled wall, then in doing so, I'll show you, it again makes that field editable. So I can then change that thickness. So if we create a wall style and we're like, oh, I just want to change the thickness of this one wall, we can select it, convert it to unstyled, and make any changes we want to. And then, so this is unstyled. The only thing we can do is replace it if we want to. And if, while it's a styled wall, we can replace, edit style, or convert to unstyled wall. Replacing it also brings up this wall replacement dialog box. So it's saying, okay, you want to change this wall style. Do you want it to line up along the center? Do you want to line it on the left? So we will get it right now. This really doesn't make it a huge difference, so we can just hit OK. But eventually I will show you ways that it changes. Any questions at this point?